At 95, people like to talk to me about my successes. I'm much more interested in my mistakes because those are what can actually help you in 2026. If I had to warn you about just one money mistake, it wouldn't be a bad stock pick or a wrong macro call. It would be this: underestimating how much happens when you combine a simple plan, a high savings rate when you're young, and patience over decades. My biggest regret isn't just the investments I got wrong. It's the opportunities I missed, especially early, when every dollar was worth a fortune in future compounding. Let me tell you what I mean, then give you 3 money rules I wish every young investor in 2026 understood. People like to say my biggest mistake was buying Berkshire or Dexter Shoe as stock or missing Amazon and Google. Those were bad decisions, and they were expensive. Buying Dexter with Berkshire stock alone has cost shareholders tens of billions in opportunity cost because that stock would be worth far more today than the company ever was. But the deeper mistake, the one that matters for you, is simpler. When I was very young, I didn't fully appreciate just how powerful early aggressive saving and compounding would be over a lifetime. I did a lot, right? I started investing as a kid. I loved numbers. I read constantly. But even with that, looking back, I can see hundreds of small opportunities where I could have saved more, wasted less, or stuck even more stubbornly to a simple plan instead of getting cute. The opportunity cost from those little decisions grows into billions. If you extrapolate my life, you don't need my returns to become wealthy. You don't need 30% a year or a perfect stock list or some secret hedge fund. If you're in your 20s or 30s in 2026 and you save hard when you're young, put that money into sensible, low-cost, productive assets. Refuse to interrupt compounding for silly reasons. You can end up financially free without ever being Buffett smart. My biggest mistake, in a form you can use, is this: don't waste your early years thinking small about saving and compounding. You will never again have this much time for your money to work. Now, let me turn that into 3 rules. Rule 1, it's all about cash in and cash out. Most people start adult life in the same basic position. One primary income stream, a job. A long list of temptations to borrow against the future mortgages, car loans, credit cards, buy now, pay later, lifestyle upgrades. The world encourages you to think in terms of payments. I can afford this car. It's only this much per month. I can handle this mortgage. The bank approved me. But the physics of wealth are simpler than any of that. Wealth equals what comes in 40, what goes out 20, what you permanently destroy. The gap between your cash in and your cash out, your surplus, is your real engine of wealth. That surplus is what you convert into assets that compound. If the gap is tiny or negative, it doesn't matter how clever you are with picking stocks. You're bailing water into a leaking boat. In 2026, inflation may be 24%. Asset prices are elevated, and everyone feels some pressure to keep up. The worst response is to stretch every dollar to its limit, take on debt just to match someone else's lifestyle, and then hope your investments bail you out. Instead, you want a brutally clear rule for yourself. Keep your fixed expenses, housing, car, recurring payments low enough that you can save meaningfully 15%, 20%, 30% of your income if you can. Treat high interest debt like a hair on fire emergency, not a normal tool. Anytime your income rises, let your savings rate rise faster than your lifestyle. If you earn 50, 0, and spend 49, 0, you are one emergency away from going backwards. If you earn 50, 0, and spend 35, 0, you have 15, 0 per year you can deploy into assets that work while you sleep. Over 10, 20, 30 years, that difference is enormous. People love to ask me, what should I buy? The first question is, how big is the gap between what you earn and what you keep? Until that gap is sizable, the rest is just detail. Rule 2, never confuse price with value. One of the simplest lines people associate with me came from my teacher, Ben Graham. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. Most people never live that way. They see a stock going up and treat that price as proof of value. They see it fall and treat that price as proof it's bad. In a shaky 2026 market after years of big runs, with valuation indicators like the Buffett Indicator still flashing over valuation, this confusion is especially dangerous. Here's what you have to remember. Price is the number flashing on your screen. Value is the cash the business will produce over its life, discounted back to today. Those two things move together over long periods, but they can depart wildly in the short term. Imagine 2 simple cases, a great business at a stupid price. It has a strong brand, durable moat, good management, but it trades at 60, 80, 100 times its current earnings because everyone expects perfection. If anything less than perfect happens, you can lose half your money, even if the business itself is still fine. A boring business at a fair price. It sells something simple, generates reasonable profits, and grows slowly. It trades at, say, 12, 15 times earnings. Your return won't be flashy, but the gap between price and value is much smaller. Most young investors in 2026 feel drawn to case one because it looks exciting on social media. The real wealth over time tends to accrue in situations closer to case two, or in great businesses bought at fair or better prices when the crowd temporarily forgets about them. Never forget, a falling price does not automatically mean a business got worse. A rising price does not automatically mean a business got better. Your job is to anchor yourself to value. Is this business producing stable or growing cash flows? Does it have a moat, something that keeps competitors from chewing away its economics? At this price, what kind of long-term return is realistic if things go only okay, not perfectly? In 2026, paying any price just to be in the market is one of the easiest ways to quietly ruin your future returns. Don't let a high price trick you into thinking you're buying high value. Rule 3, your habits beat your predictions. People imagine my edge was predicting things, interest rates, recessions, political outcomes. It wasn't. I've said many times I have no idea what the market will do in the next year or even 5 years. My real edge was always in habits. I read for hours every day. I stayed within my circle of competence. I bought quality businesses at sensible prices. I held for a very long time. That's not glamorous, but it works. In 2026, investors are obsessed with predictions. Will inflation stick at 3% or drop to 2%? How many rate cuts will the central bank deliver? Who will win the next election, and what will it do to stocks? You don't control any of that. What you do control is how much you save, how much you spend, how consistently you invest, how patient you are when the world gets noisy. If your habits are bad, no savings, constant lifestyle creep, trading based on headlines, it won't matter if you guess one or two macro calls correctly. The structure of your life will keep pulling you back. If your habits are good, high savings rate, living below your means, automatic investing into sensible assets, refusing to panic in sell-offs, you can be wrong about a lot of things and still end up rich. So ask yourself in 2026, do I have a weekly habit of setting aside money before I see it, not after? Do I have a monthly habit of reviewing spending and cutting what doesn't actually make my life better? Do I have an investing habit that is boring, repeatable, and robust, like buying broad index funds or a small basket of understandable businesses rather than a new scheme every quarter? Your future net worth will be far more correlated with those answers than with the accuracy of your inflation forecast. Let's put this into something you can actually use, a short 2026 checklist built from my biggest mistake and these 3 rules. By the end of this year, if you're a young investor, try to make each of these true. My savings engine is real. I've widened the gap between what comes in and what goes out. I'm saving a meaningful percentage of my income automatically every month. Most of my long-term money is in productive assets, not just cash. I respect inflation's silent tax and don't leave long-term savings in low-yield accounts. I use cash as a tool, emergency fund, optionality, not as my main long-term strategy. I can explain why I own what I own in terms of value, not just price. For each major holding, I can describe the underlying business, how it makes money, and why the price I paid made sense. I'm not buying just because something went up or is hot in 2026. My system doesn't depend on perfect predictions. I could be wrong about rates, inflation, and elections. And my plan would still be to save, invest, and hold for the long term. I've built habits that will keep working in many different futures. If you do those things, you won't need to be me. You won't need to find the next Berkshire. You just need to avoid my biggest mistake in a form that applies to you. Do not sleepwalk through your early years, nibbling at saving and dabbling at investing, while time your most important asset slips by. At 95, looking back, the money I lost on bad decisions hurts a lot less than the money I never let compounding earn for me because I was too human, too distracted, or too cautious at the beginning. You can't change when you were born or what the market does in 2026, but you can absolutely decide today to guard the gap between cash in and cash out. Refuse to confuse price with value. Build habits that quietly make you rich, even when your predictions are wrong. If you do that, decades from now, you won't be asking, what was my biggest mistake? You'll be the one answering questions about how you made it look so easy.